Welcome to the Senior Safety Advice Podcast, your trusted source for expert guidance on aging safely and independently. Whether you're a caregiver, a family member, or a senior looking to stay secure at home and beyond, we've got you covered. From fall prevention and home modifications to financial safety and scam awareness, we provide practical tips to help you or your loved ones live with confidence. Tune in and empower yourself with the knowledge you need to navigate the challenges of aging. Let's make safety simple.
The other day, we got an email from one of our readers asking if leaving the stove on was a sign of dementia in her mom. It seems that her mom lives with them and has now left the stove on 3 separate times after she's finished cooking. Repeatedly forgetting to turn off the stove or leaving it on unattended could be a warning sign of cognitive issues, including early dementia, and this is especially concerning if it's part of a pattern of forgetfulness or difficulty with everyday tasks. So you can see that our reader has a valid concern. However, simply forgetting to turn off the stove is not necessarily indicative of dementia on its own. Here's why. It can actually just indicate plain old normal forgetfulness. We all forget things from time to time, including things like turning off the stove, especially if we get distracted or stressed. It's a common experience, and it doesn't necessarily indicate dementia. Some absent-mindedness or minor memory lapses are also common with normal aging, making it more likely for her mom to forget to turn off the stove. If forgetting to turn off the stove is an isolated issue without other cognitive symptoms, it may not be dementia related. Here's the rationale behind that statement. Some types of dementia, such as Alzheimer's disease, can cause significant cognitive impairment, including memory loss, confusion, and difficulty with daily tasks. So yes, leaving the stove on might be a symptom of this impairment, but it would be expected to be accompanied by other signs of cognitive decline as well, such as having difficulty with language, navigating to a familiar place, or problem solving. Lastly, certain medical conditions such as depression, anxiety, or sleep disorders can also cause forgetfulness or difficulty with daily tasks, including leaving the stove on. So you can see that occasional lapses in some areas can just be a normal result of aging. However, if you notice a pattern of decline across multiple areas that interferes with daily functioning, then it's advisable to consult a doctor for a thorough evaluation. The following are some key additional signs to watch for that involve instrumental activities of daily living, or IADLs. So IADLs are complex tasks that are particularly sensitive to a cognitive decline. Having problems with these activities could be early warning signs of cognitive issues. These things include such things as difficulty planning or solving problems, trouble completing familiar tasks at home or at work, confusion with time or place, such as losing track of dates or seasons, forgetting appointments or important dates, problems with visual perception and spatial relationships, misplacing things and an inability to retrace the steps to find those missing things, or getting lost in familiar places. There could be language and communication changes, such as struggling to follow or join in a conversation, or stopping in the middle of a conversation and then being unable to continue. Also, repeating stories or questions or having difficulty finding the right words could indicate a cognitive decline. Cognitive decline concerns could also show up in the area of judgment and decision making, like regarding finances, a decreased ability to assess a risk or a dangerous situation, or inappropriate social behaviors or loss of social skills. There could also be mood and personality changes that can indicate possible cognitive changes or decline, such as increased anxiety, agitation or suspicion, depression or apathy, withdrawal from, or difficulty engaging in hobbies or social activities that the person once enjoyed, or rapid mood swings for no apparent reason. Another thing to look at is a change in how the person performs their regular daily living skills, such as maybe neglecting personal hygiene and grooming, or difficulty managing their medications, problems with driving and getting lost in familiar places, or the inability to manage their finances or pay their bills on time, preparing meals, such as having trouble following the recipe, neglecting housekeeping and home maintenance, and also maybe issues with shopping for groceries or for necessities. There are sensory changes that can also indicate a cognitive decline, including things like a gradual decline in the sense of smell over time, or changes in taste preferences, or visual spatial difficulties such as judging distances when they're driving. Keep in mind that, again, occasional lapses in some of these areas can just be normal with aging, but if you notice a pattern of decline across multiple areas, and if that pattern of decline interferes with daily functioning, then it's advisable to consult a doctor for a thorough evaluation. An early diagnosis allows for better planning and gives you access to treatments that might help manage the symptoms. So now that we've taken a look at the signs of possible decline that you can watch for, you might be wondering how a cognitive decline actually differs from what you would typically see with normal aging. Well, it differs in several key ways. The first is the severity of the change. Normal aging involves subtle, gradual changes in cognitive abilities that don't significantly impact daily functioning. But cognitive decline involves more severe impairments that do interfere with everyday activities and the person's independence. Another difference is the rate of decline. Normal aging changes occur very gradually over time, but cognitive decline often progresses more rapidly, with noticeable changes occurring over a few months, or even a year or two. You can also look at the types of changes. So normal aging typically involves mild forgetfulness, like occasionally misplacing an item, or slight slowing in processing speed and reaction time, or some little difficulty in multitasking or staying focused on a task. But cognitive decline can include things like a significant memory loss, especially for recent events. Confusion and disorientation, even if the person is in a familiar place. Difficulty with planning, problem solving and decision making, and language problems like trouble finding words or following conversations. You'd also likely see the impact on the person's daily life. Normal aging doesn't interfere with a person's ability to live independently and carry out daily tasks, wherein, as we've been discussing, cognitive decline impacts the person's ability to do things like manage finances, drive safely, follow recipes, or navigate familiar areas. So as I said, while some cognitive changes are expected with normal aging, significant impairments in memory, thinking, and daily functioning may indicate cognitive decline that warrants medical evaluation. Okay, so now that you know the signs of possible dementia, how do you go about getting an assessment for your elderly parent? We recommend that you follow these steps. First, you start with their primary care physician by scheduling an appointment with the person's regular doctor. To prepare for this appointment, you're going to want to make a list of the symptoms that you have noticed, and you're going to want to bring a list of your parents' medications with you to the appointment, and you're going to want to gather and bring with you any relevant medical history information. Once you're at the appointment, discuss your concerns and your observation about your parents' changes in memory or behavior. At that point, the doctor may perform an initial cognitive screening test, such as the mini mental state exam or the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. These tests can help determine if further evaluation is needed. If the doctor does perform an initial test and that test suggests cognitive impairment, the doctor may refer your parent to a specialist, such as a geriatrician, a neurologist, a geriatric psychiatrist, or a neuropsychologist. At that point, the specialist will conduct a more thorough assessment, which may include things like taking a detailed medical history, doing physical and neurological exams, providing or giving more extensive cognitive tests. They may also do brain imaging, such as a CT or an MRI scan, and they may do blood tests to rule out other causes. After the assessment, you would obviously discuss the results with the doctor, and if your parent is diagnosed with dementia, the next step is to develop a care plan based on that diagnosis. And of course, you would want to schedule and keep regular follow-up appointments to monitor the person's progression so that a treatment can be adjusted if needed. Remember that early detection of dementia is considered best for 8 very important reasons. Some conditions that mimic dementia symptoms can be reversible or treatable. These include things like depression, drug effects, sleep apnea, thyroid issues, undetected urinary tract infections, and vitamin deficiencies. Another thing is that early detection allows for more effective treatment. So certain treatments for dementia are more effective if they're started earlier in the disease progression. For example, cholinesterase inhibitors can help to prevent or slow further brain damage and may be more beneficial when initiated early. Also, early interventions and medications can help slow the progression of cognitive decline, potentially delaying the onset of more severe symptoms. Getting a diagnosis in the early stages may allow patients to participate in clinical research studies, which could potentially benefit them if they can get an innovative treatment option. Early diagnosis also allows individuals and their families to educate themselves, to seek appropriate support, and to make informed decisions about care and future planning. This gives people the time to plan for future financial and legal needs while they still have the capacity to make important decisions. In addition, a timely diagnosis allows individuals to assemble a care team and access support services earlier in the disease process. Plus, understanding cognitive changes can help to avoid complications with other medical issues and can improve overall health management. Lastly, number 8, in some cases, knowing the specific type of dementia and that it may not worsen rapidly can help to decrease anxiety for the person and for their family. As our understanding of dementia continues to evolve, so do our methods for early detection and intervention. While a diagnosis of dementia can be challenging, early detection empowers the person and their loved ones with knowledge, time, and resources to navigate the journey ahead. Keep in mind that occasional forgetfulness and minor cognitive changes can be a normal part of aging. However, persistent issues with daily tasks, with memory, and cognitive function warrant attention and a professional evaluation. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate your listening to us. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
That's it for today's episode of the Senior Safety Advice Podcast, helping you and your loved ones stay safe, independent, and informed. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and share it with others who could benefit. For more expert tips and resources, visit seniorsafetyadvice.com. And remember, staying safe starts with staying informed. Until next time, take care and stay safe.